I love my intro. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Touch Base Daily. My name is Ron Foster, touching base with you as I do every day. And I'm here with my wonderful partner in crime, Chris Edwards. What's going on, Mr. Chris?
uh, it's Thursday. It's the start to a long weekend.
Oh, it's gonna be a long
Um,
weekend.
yeah, but
Holiday.
I'm not gonna jump in because I already talked about what I want to talk about, and I'm just kind of a little
Yes.
disgusted about what's going on online and social media with
Well, the
people
big
and
ugly bill is going to
well
pass.
that too, and then this whole um Auschwitz in the Everglades because it's
Yeah.
not Alcatraz, it's Auschwitz.
And they're
And
just getting
if
started.
you look at history, you'll see the comparisons. I put it on my stories a couple of times, and I think I'm gonna
Yeah.
put it back again today.
Well, you know what? And I'm gonna keep saying it. America gets what it deserves.
Yeah,
America voted for this. Now, black folks, we got to suffer for it. But we also know there were black folks that voted for this also. And we also know that there were black folks that sat on the couch. We know that there were Hispanics that sat on the couch. We know that there were indigenous people that sat on the couch. We know that there are Middle Eastern people that sat on the couch. We know that all of this was brought on because of those idiots. Those fellow Americans put us in this mess. This was warned. We warned. Everyone warned. Project 2025. Look no further than the instruction book. This is page by page.
yep.
And this big bill, this big, ugly, nasty, vicious bill is going to pass. I know Hakeem is right now on the floor trying to do what they
Yeah,
call the lightning something or a minute or whatever they call it, and it's just not a good thing. It's not a good thing, and everyone's going to feel it. Everyone's going to feel everything about this bill being passed. There's so many things in this bill that even Donald Trump doesn't even know is in this bill. No one knows what's in this bill but the people that made Project 2025. So many of these fools. I mean, they're going to create detention camps. This, if you look no further than 1932, 1933, this is where we are. And I sat there with my buddy yesterday and my friend from Syria. And he gets so upset. Like I mentioned to you guys, he gets so upset. He gets so angry. And I tell him, I said, look, there's nothing you can do right now but call your congressman. But that's not going to work either. I know we keep saying call the congressman. But if they're Republicans, it's not going to work. And there's nothing the Democrats can do. Because the Democrats failed us a long time ago. The Democrats should have locked Trump up immediately after January 6th. They should have locked him up, just like they did P. Diddy, locked him up, and never had a chance to get out into the streets and protest, and try to run for office. They should have
sorry about
locked
that.
Trump up. That's okay, buddy. They should have
It's still
locked
doing it.
Trump up. But guess what? Because the Democrats were so weak, here we are. Here we are. The end of America. I know. I wish I had good news. I wish I would had better, cheery information to give you. But folks, take what's happening very seriously. It is the end of America, we know. And it's been the end ever since January 21st. And it's not going to get better. It's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse. Did you hear the latest when Trump was interviewed at the Auschwitz of the Everglades? Did you
I
hear
don't
the
know
latest?
what's going on. Sorry. If
Did
I
you
get booted out again,
you
I'm
have
gonna
to
have to
reboot like you did yesterday?
I did. I rebooted once already, so I don't know what's going on.
Ah,
It seems like there's something wrong with the web browser for Chrome.
oh really?
It happened yesterday a couple of times, and
Hmm.
I've never had this happen, so I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
my Chrome is
So
good.
my apologies.
That's okay. Hey, it is. It happens. It happens. I know, Chris. You say I remain hopeful, not in denial. I know. I know you. I know. I know. I know. Everyone wants to be hopeful.
I mean, we can be hopeful, but I think we can't be naive. Like this is happening in front of us, and like it's like we're standing on the top of a mountain screaming fire, and nobody is listening.
And no one cares.
Not until they start like literally killing people in these things. I mean, even he made a comment yesterday about how we're going to
You mean
teach them how to
unalive?
dodge.
You mean
Huh?
unalive? Unalive?
Yes, yes. Telling people that, oh, we're going to teach you guys how to run. You're going to have to bob and weave, basically. And these are all harping back to slave days when slaves would have to zigzag to run out of shot's eye from their slave masters. They're saying all the things, they're doing all the things, and everyone's just like, oh, he's just talking. I mean,
It's
he's not
over.
talking.
I'm telling you. Like I said, I talked to my buddy in Syria. I mean, who lived in Syria, who came to America. And we were talking yesterday. And he was so upset. And I said, you have to remain calm. You have to find a way to not let this eat you up. And he says, but he has something to go. I said, but you know what? I understand what you're saying. I know what you're feeling because, or I should say, I have never lived in a country that was taken over by a dictator. You actually
Yeah,
lived
you've
it.
done it.
He
Yeah.
lived when the dictator took over and how he had to pledge allegiance to the dictator every morning, and that the secret police of your neighbors, if they saw that you weren't swearing to Assad, I think it's Assad, and they would squeal on you and arrest you and you go
Yeah.
to jail and never be seen again.
Well, I mean, here's the other thing too. And this is a thing, and it's happening, and it's going to start happening even more. They're trying to unnaturalize people. People that have been naturalized in this country are going to lose their citizenship.
Yes,
And the
that's
moment that
happening.
happens, they just deport you because then
Yep.
now you have no rights. They're deporting America. I mean, they're deporting born Americans that come from nowhere else but here, not from parents from other countries, but parents, generations that have been here, that have been born here. They want to send you away. How do you send someone away from their country of origin?
Look, they're sending. Look, there's military. There was a gentleman, a military guy. Chris is gone again. He'll be back. Military guy. They deported his wife. He's serving in the military, and they deported his wife. Or the older gentleman who has 3 sons that serve in the Marines currently, and they're deporting their father. This is not good. Sorry, I mean we'll talk about some good things later, or some bright stuff. We won't end on this heavy note, I guarantee you. But I just wanted to make sure people know we are in danger. We are in danger. Can someone put on a red light and spin it on the top of every home? We are in danger. We are in danger. And the whole point of this bill, someone mentioned to me, is called the slow death. They want people to die. They want people to be unalived. They want people to get sick. They want people to starve. They want people to not get medicine. They want people. I mean, this is an all-out war for survival of the fittest. Only the strong will survive. All the weak people in our society will die. That's what they want. That's what they want. That's why they're getting rid of all the Medicare. That's why they're getting rid of all the food, all the SNAP for food, all the money that was going to all these benefits to help people. Their goal is cruelty and destruction. Cruelty and destruction. I always just look. I'm trying to look for the clip later on. The clip where Trump is talking at the Auschwitz place down in Florida, and he says, "And the farmers, the owners. So they want to make farmers owners of people." Can I say it again? They want farmers. This is probably white farmers because there are no more black farmers. The black farmers are dying out, right? There's not that many black farmers. They want the white farmers to be now called owners of people. Where you heard that before? Where have you heard that before? Yes. Oh, Kimmy says she saw it too. Kimmy saw it. Make it make sense. They say, and we will have these people that are owners, not they are farmers. They're going to put on their farmlands, build these concentration camps on farmlands, build some kind of housing for these people, and they will be the owners. This is what Trump said. I think it was yesterday, 2 days ago. I think it was yesterday. If you don't think this is going to affect you and your kids and your family and your grandkids, you are mistaken. And I know I have an advantage, and I thank God for my advantage. But my advantage is also to help you and warn you. Whatever savings you have, whatever you can do, and I know you have to get out of this country if you can. You have to make plans. You have to make plans. We are in trouble. And then most people won't be, like I said, we all know most people will not be able to leave this country. Then what are you going to do when you stay here? You have to have a plan. Everyone is in danger. Everyone is in danger. They could, once they get rid of all the other laws, once they start arresting Americans, born Americans, because right now they're arresting them by mistake and don't care. And people are just showing up missing. No more, they're gone. Where are they? Anyway, I have a couple of things we'll go through, and we're going to try to do some lightning rounds here. I think Chris is, I'm just going to put it out there. Let me just let me do my link tree barcode so that way I can invite people on if you guys want to come on. Okay, let me just get this copy here. Let me get that copied, and let me go into here real quick. And link tree, let's get that together for you guys in case you want to pop on. And but if you pop on, make sure this is a lightning round, I should say, lightning round day, and we'll be just going through discussion. So you have to have a clear mind, clear thought, and ready to share your thoughts and talk, and then move on. That sounds rough, right? But it is what it is. Okay, let me just get that real quick. Let me get that in there. Okay, we got that. Copy and paste. Here we go. Nice. Okay, there you go. It's in there. So the barcode, the QR code, if you want to pop on, you're more than welcome to scan and come on. And And this is going to be one of those discussions that we just gonna have to just talk today. We are going to talk, but we're going to talk about some things that I think are very, very important that may help you. And again, it's not about the fear. It's about strategizing. Okay? It's about the strategy. That's what's important. The strategy. Okay, no, let me see. Chris is I don't know if we're gonna have Chris back. His browser's not working properly. And let me see. And I'll throw that out as well. Okay. Gwendolyn's on the road today. So she is doing her thing. She and her hubby. Okay, there we go. I just sent those out to certain folks. But guys, okay, what are you guys saying here? What are you guys saying? Janice says, deportation, new national nightmare. And again, Elise says, their goal is cruelty and destruction. Yes. This is so they can go, they're going to send them out to the fields. I just told my husband about that video. The people that currently work for them now. Yeah. Grand Rising. What's going on, Aya? What's going on? What's going on? Good morning, Aya. Good morning. What's going on, my dearest? What's on co-host?
Good morning. Good morning.
Oh man, I'm just sat there and said, and I said this. I said, like, they were talking about on the Midas Touch and a bunch of other platforms. They were saying, oh, there are 19 people that are not going to go with the bill in the Congress.
Shit.
And that dwindled down to zero. Zero.
It dwindled down to one.
Yeah, one now. Because it went down to 5, then it was 4, then now it's 1. One good person that says this is cruelty.
Yeah, well, we guess that's what he was saying. We don't know. And then people like, I laughed because I was telling my husband, I said, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Mm-hmm. Marjorie Taylor Greene and all the talking she was doing. But she still voted for it. She voted for it the way it looked, right?
They don't care.
Almost $1 trillion.
They're a cult.
Healthcare.
They're a cult. They're a clan. They are horrible. They are horrible people.
All of them horrible.
They were working on them hard all night. They didn't do it until 5 o'clock in the morning. So you know, everyone was calling those people. Trump, everybody was calling those people.
And I'm telling you, if these people had something dark in their past, some hidden secret, I guarantee you, Trump and his people have found all their skeletons. And said, look, you're either going to go with the program, or I'm outing you.
Yeah, I mean, that's highly possible what they're saying, but I think it's just a lot of pressure, a lot of fear. It's like, what are we going to do with your kids? What are we going to do with everybody? I think there's a lot of threats going around because my husband's like, well, they talk. I said, no, they didn't negotiate anything because they would have had to not send it to the floor. Yes. Go back to committee and make changes. They didn't make any changes. These are what the Senate sent them. People need to be clear on that. This is what the Senate sent them, and they let it go through this point. And Hakeem has just been talking for like 6 hours just to keep them from
voting
on finishing the vote. Put the nail in the vote.
Now they correct me if I'm wrong. They didn't make any changes to it. They just accepted it as it was and they're voting on that. They want to vote on that, correct?
Yeah, right, they can't change it. Because they changed it, they got to go back to the Senate, right?
Right.
So the way they could have, if they did not clear it, it would have gone back to committee.
Yes.
They didn't get it to the floor. It would have gone back to committee. Then they would have been able to make changes. They're simply voting on what the Senate sent them.
But here's the thing, like Tate Murkowski, she didn't want to vote for it, and then she got all she got some sweetheart deal. She voted for it. And then she walks and says, "Well, I don't even like the bill. Like,
And yes,
I'm restrained.
she was the vote that could have stopped it.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
She
And
could have
she said
stopped it all.
And see, how do you vote for something and then you turn around and say, "Oh, I don't like the bill"? You voted for it.
Well, you know, she also said she was hoping the House would stop it.
Stupid.
Why would she think they would stop it? She didn't stop it. Like I said yesterday, I wasn't being facetious when they put something in there so whalers could get some fun.
She got some specific for her constituents. They're all looking out for themselves. They don't care about us as a whole. It's me. Here's the thing. Regardless of what they do, they're all getting primaried or they're all getting replaced if there
is going to be an election, y'all.
But that's the thing. And here's the test case.
Over.
Florida has already
Miami's testing.
Yeah, they've already canceled this November's elections until next year. And what does that do? The people that are in power right now will stay in power for another year.
Yes.
Right. And people need to understand, we talk about Miami. We're not talking about some smaller town that you don't hear about.
No.
About Miami. And so that's the test. That's the test case. Like, are the people in Miami taking it to the courts? What are they doing? Because do they have citizenry or people down there that will challenge it? Because right now the election was supposed to come in November. I think the mayor was even up for election. So, you know,
yes,
that puts all of that off because it's and it's in their state, in their thing that they have it on.
Yes, it is illegal what they are doing.
Right,
but no one cares about illegal.
That has to be voted on, and no one voted on that.
Right, nope. They didn't vote for it. The people didn't vote for it. And run out. You know, I kind of heard you say earlier how the Democrats felt. No, people felt this.
Yeah,
this is not about a party. This is about people who either voted for or wasted their vote on a third party and did not vote.
And
those
did not
people
you must have missed my first point, though. I said that early. Yeah. I said this is the problem of the Americans get what they deserve because there were Americans that sat on their sofas and did nothing. There were people that did not show up. They chose to not show up. There were Muslims that chose not to show up. There were Christians that sat on the couch. There were Middle Easterns that were saying, "I don't want Joe Biden," and blah, 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 blah. So I'm sitting home. And then and yada, yada, yada. I don't want a woman president. There was all kinds of reasons. Well, now every one of those people that sat and did nothing.
Yeah, and they said, like, the larger people don't realize that. I think the non-voting block was the largest one.
Yes. Yeah. The largest block is the non-voters.
Right. And so non-voters out there listening to this.
What was like 35%, something like that?
Don't you dare cry about any of this.
But you know, they're the first person to complain. They're the first. Let me tell you something. I remember back in 2016 when was the first time that he got elected?
2016.
Right. I knew someone who did not vote, and then they would always bitch. I was like, I don't want to hear it. You didn't even vote. You did not even vote. If you don't vote, you don't have a say or skin in this game. Shut the fuck up and go sit down somewhere.
Thank you. Thank you for being my brain. That was in my brain.
And look, and not feeling sorry for folks like who did not vote. If you chose not,
I don't feel sorry for nobody.
Sorry for you. I'm not gonna feel sorry. Any of the memas and papas out there who can't get their teeth fixed and can't do anything because they voted against themselves because they got this, and and then they don't care. People really have convinced them that somehow this is not going to impact them, and that's the problem we have.
This is their fault.
Yeah, it's their fault. You have the people who are being deported. I voted for it. Really? You voted for him? And he said what he was going to do. I mean, it's not like he
what's killing me is these Venezuelans and that are in
Cubans
and Cubans crying and complaining. Y'all are the ones saying, elect Donald Trump, he's like Donald Trump. Now, you know what? Suffer the consequences. Your parents are getting deported. Oh, well. Yeah. That's what you vote. That's what you said you wanted. So you're getting exactly what you deserve.
So my point in this whole conversation is that these people voted for what they're going to get.
Yep.
You get what you vote for.
Or didn't vote for.
Or didn't vote for.
Well, no, either way they voted. If you did not vote, that's still
it's a vote. When you don't vote, it's a vote.
Right.
It's like, I don't care. So all these people that did not care, did not vote, they put us in this mess. And then I will say, as a continuum of this, again, if the Democrats were not so freaking weak, and I know that this is a problem with the Democrats. They just can't stand up. They don't have backbone. And I know that a lot of people are going to be upset with me when I say this. But if Joe Biden and the Democrats would have put Trump in prison on day one of the swearing in after January 6th, we would never be here. If they would have locked him up like France did with Napoleon and put him on an island and no connection with people. They should have locked him up and put him in a brigade, put him in some kind of tomb situation, feed him, that's it. And locked him up after what he did. And then the Supreme Court, and then even after January 6th, when the Supreme Court said Biden had the right to do what he wanted,
after the fact,
it was under his administration that they gave him the permission. But they were so weak and said, "Oh, you know what? Our hands are tied." No, the Supreme Court just gave you ultimate presidency, and you are the president.
Yeah, I mean that's when he could have done something.
But this is the problem with the Democrats. They're always
the Democrats have no imagination for the worst.
No,
worst case scenarios, procedures.
It'll always work itself out. You know, we're a country of rules and laws, and it'll work itself out. No, obviously you guys are not paying attention to what's going on. The Democrats have allowed this to take place.
They allowed it. If I was president and the Supreme Court just told me my decisions are free as I can make them as a president, and I see that this person is a clear and present danger to the country, whether he's running or not, I would have simply said the elections are over, just like they're going to do it, and said, this man, Republicans put anyone else up for the mark, but this man is going to jail. Republicans, you can pick whoever you want. You can have an election. But this man, he is our Napoleon. He is getting locked up. He's going to live on an island by himself.
Listen to me. He is Hitler. Just give. But
they let him get away. They let him stay.
It's only the first 6 months. It's only the beginning.
They just getting started.
They're more than 50% through Project 2025. And I get it. I get everybody talking about Democrats. It's still the people.
It's still the people. No, it's still the people. It's the people.
Because of hatred and fear.
Yes.
People allowed this to happen. And we can talk about parties and all of that, but the people allowed this craziness to happen.
Yes, sorry, no doorbells today. I'm just letting people in. The doors are wide open. Just come on in.
And I think we also have to look at how complicit media is in this. We can never forget.
Oh my God. Yes.
We can't forget that
because main culprits.
Right, because people kept saying, well, Democrats aren't saying this. They were saying stuff, but it wasn't. They weren't screaming. They weren't threatening people's lives or something. I don't know what they would have to do, but it wasn't something that they wanted to put in rotation. Because even when you look at news now, it's crazy.
It's not even that. I mean, look at like quote unquote mainstream media. I'll just use CNN as an example because I was a huge CNN junkie. All right, I watched CNN wall to wall all day long and had MSNBC also. Yeah. I'm gonna use Jake Tapper as a perfect example. He has focused his whole career right now on Biden and the fact that he wasn't mentally competent. What the fuck about the one that's in the office right now? That perfect example. they asked him about how long does he think that these people will stay in Florida. And he starts to talk about, oh, well, I'd love to visit Florida. I have a vacation home here. He doesn't even understand the questions that are being asked of him, and no one's talking about it. This man is in complete mental decline, dementia, Alzheimer's, everything, and
Right.
no one's talking about it.
And they asked
But
him
yet they're
twice.
still talking. And yes, she tried to clarify to give him the chance to
Right.
answer the question because maybe he didn't understand it or didn't hear it, so she asked it again, and he just goes deeper and deeper into it. If you did
He's the
not watch
Mad
Lawrence
King.
O'Donnell,
He's the
watch
Mad
Lawrence
King.
O'Donnell from Tuesday night because he goes deep into the fact that when they ask him questions, he's not even answering the question because
He
he's not
doesn't.
understanding what people are asking him.
He
He's
doesn't.
not here.
The fact that he said that when the moderate Republicans went up there to talk to him, he said, you all mess with care and Medicaid and Social Security, you won't get reelected. But they said, but it's in this bill.
He
And those
doesn't know
same Congress that
anything.
didn't do anything about it, so it didn't matter. But
Jazzy's in the building. What's up, Jazzy?
Hi, y'all. So I just, because I agree with what y'all are saying, right? And obviously, but I think one of the things that has to be done in this moment, right, is how do we galvanize a group of people that have voter apathy, because voter apathy is real, right? How do we galvanize these people to understand that they need to come in and actually help elect the things that they want to see in a way that we can inform them the correct way, in a way that we can make sure that we are not just saying, well, you effed around and now you're going to find out. And we're, because to me, we're in this moment, right? We can talk about all the things that could have, should have, would have happened if things went differently. And I agree. Like, I am in a moment of feeling like, okay, if you, Joe Biden, and you, Kamala, were sitting there and telling us that this man was going to be a dictator, and y'all just waved and said bye, I've had my problems with that. I've talked to Elizabeth, like, y'all know, I have my problems with that, with them just being like, okay, bye, we're out, and good luck, you know what I mean? But we're in this moment, right? We're in this moment of like, okay, we're here now, so how do we get these people that do not vote? How do we get these people that say they are misinformed and don't have the information? How do we get them to be informed and want to participate?
I'm going to have to interrupt you. There will be no elections.
Okay,
there's no elections.
But the thing now, is,
I need before you go there, we need to start thinking about it. It blows my mind that people keep saying the midterm elections. The elections
I'm not even saying the midterms.
Over. There's no elections coming. Let's think from that point.
You're talking about elections this year?
But I'm just talking in general, right? Because for me, then why are we even having a conversation? Because if we're just saying like nothing's going to be able to be done, and even when the way that we frame how the Democrats are doing what they're doing, right? My biggest pet peeve in this moment is people continually repeating that the Democrats are not doing anything. They are in the courts doing what they can with the power that we as the voters gave them. And then we have to be careful. We talk about how the media does not say certain things. We have to be careful even on this platform to make sure that people understand that there are things that are actually being done in these moments. Because there are a lot of things being done in this moment. There's governors that are suing the administration left and right. There are governors, you know what I'm saying? Like we have to be able to put our foot on our necks and say these things, because if we're just sitting here being like, we're not doing anything.
Here's the thing. Yes, things are being done. Governors and mayors are suing everyone. I mean, there's so much litigation against this administration right now.
Yeah.
But we all know that the wheels of justice run really, really slow. And the fact is, by the time we catch up to what they've already done, then now you have to turn around and sue them again for the new stuff. So it's kind of like, but it's kind of like a fruitless or what's the.
But not only that, but let me just I'm the devil's advocate today.
Go ahead. Be the devil's advocate.
We talk about, I know, because I'm a member of the democracy movements. I go, I get all my law papers all my emails from what they're doing, as in litigation to the government, litigation here, litigation there, voting rights. I get all that information in my email. However, when all of this goes to the Supreme Court, which is in favor of MAGA, it is not going to make a difference. Yes, all the work is going into it. I love it. I get it. But we also know MAGA is in control. So we're going to see birthright now being knocked off. Each time something gets to the Supreme Court, bam, it's out. Now,
so can I ask a question? Can I ask a question? Because what I'm hearing when I hear you say this, right, is then there's nothing that we can do.
There's nothing you can do. Now,
so why are we having a conversation?
No,
I'm just being honest. Like, why are we having a conversation? Why are we talking about what people did and didn't do? If there's literally nothing that we can do as constituents, as people, as individuals in this country now, then why do we even care? We should just throw up our hands and be like, okay, let's talk about the fireworks tomorrow. Because at the end of the day, what we're saying is that we don't have any power at all. And for me, I cannot just sit here and be like, okay, it is what it is. I'm done. I can't. Like, I cannot have that mindset because, yes, I do know that there are a lot of things that are bad, right? The position that we're in is very bad. We as voters and constituents have to understand that we have put ourselves in a pickle. We did that. That wasn't them. That we can blame the politicians all we want to, but we are the ones that put ourselves in this position. Sometimes it starts with the accountability of ourselves, right? And saying, hey, these are the people that we elected into these offices. You want to know why calling the switchboard has been working slightly? Is because they understand that in order to stay in these positions, they have to have some semblance of people wanting them in there. So I can't get behind okay, there's nothing that we can do. Because if there's nothing that we can do, why even complain about voters that aren't voting? What point are we making? Because what I'm hearing is like,
Jazz, okay.
Oh, well.
I hear your point. Now, I'm giving you a scenario. The the SCOTUS that we have is biased to what's going on. We also know that part of Project 2025, elections will be, if I want you to think in the world of no elections. How do we work this out without the elections? Anyway,
and that's that's
no elections. I want you to think in that form. No elections.
So
what do you do?
So it's about the people, right? But there's a part of me that says, and I think about what Jazzy was saying about educating the people. A part of me agrees with Gwendolyn. Until they feel it, they won't be motivated.
Yes.
Even the ones, if you didn't vote, you're not going to be motivated. In some of the places, what you have seen around the country in some of these local elections, some of the people who did not vote before voted this time in those local elections because they started understanding the consequences, right? They got some bumps in local elections in Louisiana from people who didn't vote the last time. Of course, that one man down there, Chambers, he's working really hard, but the people have to feel it. You have to feel that stuff. And I think that we can't just sit by. And another thing I'm going to say is we can't sit here and do what they want, what they expect us to do. Bashing Democrats is what they expect you to keep doing. Mm-hmm. But when we sit here and go to Democrats, they want you to keep saying that because you let them off the hook for being the horrible, terrible people that they are. And so and I always say I equate them with us as a people. Mm-hmm. We're so busy tearing each other apart that the Klan man said, you don't have to worry about us because they're going to destroy each other. Let's go put some more guns and drugs in the neighborhood. That's what they're going to do. And so they get us to do the infighting. So we're sitting on here, some of us Democrats, some of us independent, and we go after the one group that, regardless of what you say or what we feel, has tried to do the most to help keep us from going to the extreme darkness of this world. that we are. We find ourselves headed for. Now, the people, if you don't have elect, then the people have to rise up. The only thing that you can do is you have to have a revolution. And that means that
that's
the
my
people who out there,
point.
we can't have the fence straddlers. We can't have them ones out there straddling the fence. You're gonna pick something. You're gonna pick a side. It's not about can we go to the whatever party people want to try to create. And we got to stop giving these people all the power that they think they have. The people who can really the voters are the one who primary people out, not
Yes.
politicians and not
Yes.
players. And we got to stop. And that narrative, which is what the media, the mainstream media, keep rotating, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is the problem. The voters have to start putting more pressure where they need, because they're the only, and they have to understand their power. People have gotten so to the point because what they hear, they just feel powerless all the time. They don't feel like we can make a difference. And if we get to, if people get to vote next year, they're gonna have to rise up and show them.
And I agree with you, right? But I just want to, the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying is because what I'm hearing is we're not going to get to vote, so it doesn't matter. And I think we have to reframe the way we are saying that. Because if we're sitting there and say it doesn't matter because we're not going to get the ability to vote, right? Then if I'm an apathetic voter already, I'm going to say, you're right. I don't care.
Okay,
We
so
have to be careful about how we frame it. And I think that's just the thing, what I'm saying. It's like, we have to be careful how we frame it and stop always bashing just the Democrats for not doing anything when we know there are things that they're actually doing. Yes, the wheels of justice run slow. Yes, they are trying to do things in a way where I find it frustrating, where it's like, yo, just smack these people upside the head in a real way. But we did not give them the power to do so. If you are independent, right, and you have a closed primary state, guess what? You cannot be a part of the democratic process that you are accusing these people of not being a part of, right? If you are independent and you say, I want the Democrats to do more, guess what? You are not in the Democratic primaries voting for the politicians that you are now accusing of not doing anything. You are not a part of the process. I just think people have to be honest about where they are and stop this saying like, hey, people are not going to do anything. We're not going to be able to do anything. We have to reframe the argument and say, no, we can do things. We can rise up. We can do certain things to make a difference. And just saying like, okay, we're not going to do anything, or they're not doing things the way that we want them to, then write it down. What is it that we want to do? And then force them to do it. Those protests make people see us. These calling the switchboards make the politicians rethink and reframe how they want to vote for these bills. We have to do that. We can't just say, okay, they're not going to have elections, so oh well. Because if that's the case, again, we could talk about the fireworks tomorrow and say, good luck.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying. I get where you're coming from. But then I'm going to, we talked about this already. Just look at Miami. This is not what people vote for. Like, there are laws on the books that say in order to change an election year, it has to be voted on by the citizens. There was never ever a thing put up to the citizens to say, hey, we want to postpone the elections for a certain reason so we can put everything on an even year. They just up and said, you know what? Elections are postponed this year, and there is nothing you can do about it.
So
Yes,
then
people
the
have gone
question
to
becomes,
wait. People have gone to court. People are going to court to go against this, to protest it. But then the question is like, all right, elections are in November. In order for those elections to take place in November, the process has to start now. When will that court case go in front of a judge in order to have that election happen? It probably won't happen until October. At that point, it is too late. They waited till the last moment to do this because they know that it won't get to the courts in time for it to happen. And I'm going to say Republicans because they're the ones that are doing this. They are strategic in everything that they are doing. They know that they wait till the last minute to pull the plug on certain things because, you know what? We've got, quote unquote, the courts on our sides because the wheels of justice spin slowly.
And then that's when I say, okay. and then that's when I say, again, that's the power of the masses coming together and saying, okay, how do we force this situation? And not just saying we can't do anything about it. How do we force the situation? And I think the thing is, a lot of times with us, we're reactive instead of proactive. Some of this stuff, it's kind of like, I bet you some of this stuff was out there in the public before it became a national news story, right?
It might have been. It might have been. It
probably was, but people don't pay attention because we are teaching people as a collective to be apathetic to what is going on. We have convinced ourselves.
Well, let me pop in there. Do you think we are teaching people to be apathetic? When you say we, what do you mean by we?
I'm saying the collective, not us in this space. What I'm saying is,
I mean, who are the we that you are describing? Who are
the country as a whole, right? Teaches people that they do not have to do these things because we, as a country, right, are like, okay, it really doesn't matter, kind of. It's like, you don't really have to vote over here because, you know, everything's getting taken care of. And then we go, okay, we're too busy and we don't have to be a part of the process. And so when I say, like, when I talk to people, I always question people, like when they say, I'm not an informed voter, right? It's like, okay, how do you want to be informed? How do I talk to you to make you understand what it is that you want to see? The very first question I always ask people, what do you want to change? What are you unhappy with? And it's not about saying, I got you. It's more about, no, seriously, like, where are you in this space? And like, what is it that you're upset about? Because if you don't know, I can't help you, right? In Miami, that situation, like y'all have all said, that's a test case for what is going on. Like they want to use that space.
Can I say something about Miami? Can I say something about people in Miami? Or just people in general? I'm gonna tell you, if Muriel Bowser announced tomorrow that an election we were supposed to have in November wasn't gonna happen, I'm gonna be somewhere causing a ruckus to find some people so we can go hit the streets. Because I have learned, we have to understand, right now in America, all the three branches of government are compromised. They're compromised, right? So I don't know what are the people we are talking about it? I haven't seen it, or maybe I don't know if mainstream media is not showing it. There should be thousands of people in the streets of Miami.
Yes.
Protesting this, not just about going to courts. And I think
I bet if it was TikTok, they'd be in the streets.
And that's what I'm saying. So how do you hit the people?
I'm telling you now.
How do you hit the people? How do you get the people? This is my question. How do you get the people to be informed enough so that they can hit the streets, so that they do understand what's going on? Because I'm sure there are people down there that are trying to make sure that people make this aware.
You know how you do
and
it?
I think
you know how you do, Jez, I'm gonna interrupt you right now, the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
When I ran for office in 1994, I had to go door to door. They're gonna have to knock on some doors, and they're gonna have to talk to some people, and they're gonna have to go into their churches. They're gonna have to go in whatever venues they have and get the people that are there, because you're gonna have to start with whatever you have access to.
Here's a question here.
That's the important part. It's not about, because we can see what happens with the courts, right? As Chris said.
Yeah.
It's gonna take
the courts are compromised.
Go to this court. It's gonna do all, and
how do you deal with the Supreme Court? Like we have no say when it comes to the Supreme Court. We do not elect the Supreme Court justices. Right. Yes, we elect the president who picks them, but we already know that he already stacked the courts. How do we? I mean, they put these judgments, they pass these judgments down, and there's nothing. Well, I feel as though there's nothing we can do about it.
And Chris, to me, that is a question that needs to be asked.
Jazzy, hold on a second. Kimmy says, new territory with the democratic process not working. How do we get around it? How has it worked for other countries?
So can I just say that the democratic process is working, is working. What y'all see, and this is part of the issue, right? The democratic process is working. We do not work within the democratic process. They have figured out how to get people on all levels. Very slowly, very minutely, they were like, all right, we're going to elect this person over here. We're going to elect the person over here. This is why I always say when we talk about the progressive and like green party, right? my whole thing with that is if you genuinely want a third party, you have to start at the local level. They have started at the local level. They have understood we need judges on the local level, the state level, the federal level, right?
They've been doing it for decades.
Exactly, and they've been chipping away at this for decades. This is not something that just happened overnight. This is something that has been really calculated, right? So the democratic process is not that it's not working. We, as people, as constituents, as a country, have said it's not working. We're going to throw up our hands because we have gotten lazy about our role in the democratic process. To your point, Chris, I agree with you. Like for me, I used to scream to the rooftops when in 2016. I said, I don't think y'all understand. This is not about the president. This is about the Supreme Court. I remember getting into arguments with people about that. I said, I genuinely don't care who the president. I said, I don't really care if it's Hillary. I said, well, no, that's not true. I did care that it was Hillary Clinton. I wanted Hillary Clinton to win at the time. But I said, but I think y'all are missing the point. I said, this is about the Supreme Court. And y'all not seeing that this is a part of the Supreme Court is part of the issue. We have to take accountability for that. And you're right, Chris, it's frustrating to me because at this moment, I do feel like, okay, yeah, how do we get it so it's not going up to the Supreme Court? That's the real question. And to get that to happen, you have to get people on your local level in your states to not push it to the Supreme Court. All these
but it doesn't matter though. Every time that he loses in the lower courts, he just goes directly to the Supreme Court and they will take it up really quickly and put it out there so he can win.
But some of them can't, and that's the thing. So we have to figure out how we can get it through a federal court that's not the Supreme Court, because there are ways that you can stop that. But I think that's part of it.
It's become harder now because the nationwide injunction is no longer in place, and that's what we depended on for so many decades.
Right.
They've been playing it very smart. They've been playing chess while we were playing checkers.
This is what the Republicans do. And this is they play chess, Democrats play checkers. But
I want us to stop bashing Democrats.
I know. I'm gonna
voters play checkers.
I know.
No, we're not even playing checkers. We
are going to agree to disagree on.
No, we playing spades. That's what they probably.
No, we playing spades. I put the cheap pass because spades is dangerous.
Because
spades take skill.
But the thing is, hold on a second. I mean, think about it. If you use the analogy, I mean, it's a true fact. It's a true fact. I mean, I see the Democrats have done a lot for this country. We would not be where we are as a society if it wasn't for the Democrats. The Democrats have done a great job with healthcare, affirmative action,
infrastructure.
It's many things that benefit the people. The Democrats have done an amazing job at. However, when you are dealing with a snake that is plotting under the soil and maneuvering, the Republicans have been doing this since this has been a 40-year, almost now 50-year plan.
It's 50 years over. It's over.
It's now a 50-year plan.
So can I ask you a question, Ron? Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So I hear what you're saying, right? So how do you think the Democrats can be the snake in this situation? What do you think, and what do you want them to do?
Well, I am a believer that two things have to happen. And again, I will side with Gwendolyn on this one. Gwendolyn's not here to say it, but until these people are feeling the pain, nothing.
I understand that part.
So
but that's not my question.
That's the first part. That's the first part of the equation.
Right.
When this bill passed, there's a lot of legislation in this bill that takes away from the states and those lower courts and those lower bodies and centralizes it all to the presidency.
Right.
That's what's in this bill, and it's going to pass.
Got that.
The only way, and I'm just saying, I know people get upset with this is something you probably won't say on you touch on these YouTube channels.
These internet streets.
When you look at history, the Civil War has never ended. The Civil War has never ended. When the Civil War began, and then you had Lincoln killed, and then you had Johnson kind of like giving back the South all its rights and everything else. But even when Lincoln, if Lincoln would have lived, let's say, remember, Lincoln did not care so much about the slaves. His objective was to keep the Union together.
Right.
And this is one of the only countries in the world where the Civil War was fought and the losers benefited.
Yep, the losers won.
The losers benefited. So no, I'm taking you on a trail. The Civil War, and you will hear white nationalists say this. We are still fighting the Civil War. You've heard it even during the election when Kamala was running, and the leader of the Federalist Society said, "We're going to get power. It's either by the vote or by blood. We're going to get power." That's what he said. Paraphrasing it.
Yeah, he said that.
He said that.
Da-da-da-da-bullet.
The Civil War, there you go, the exact words. The Civil War has never ended. And until America wakes up to that fact, the war is still going on. And the South has always made the promise. And I was, I tease about it, but the South will rise again.
Absolutely.
That's what you hear.
So,
when you go through the South, I'm still paying my trail. The South will rise again. And when you look at legislation over the last 50 years, Reagan and all that he put in, the Federalist Society and what they've been working behind the scenes, the Heritage Foundation and what they've been doing, the South has been working to this moment. We have been in a continual civil war that has never ended. And the only way that this war will end is through another war. And that means the people will have to become desperate. They're going to be hungry. They're not going to have what they need. And the people will simply say, we've had enough. Because America is a young country. Other countries have had many civil wars. The French, the British, all of them have had multiple civil wars. America, we only had one. We are still a baby country. It takes multiple civil wars, or the civil wars that could keep continuing, to finally find resolution and stability. And these people have been plotting. They've been saying, we want our slaves back. They want their slaves back. You took our property. We want, and they've been fighting for decades, for centuries, to get their slaves back. Some of them. So what's going to happen? What do I believe is going to happen? The people will become so desperate. When this bill is passed, the people will have no other choice but to rise up with arms.
Okay. And I do hear what you're saying, right? But my question was, what specifically do we want the Democratic Party to do? And the reason why I'm asking that is because we don't ever say what it is that we want them to do. Systematically, how do you think? Because yes, okay, if we're all in a space where we are desperate, in that desperation, we still need a strategy of what it is that we want to do. And I think the problem is we don't have one. We're asking our politicians to have a strategy that we as constituents don't even understand what we want. And I think it's a question that has to be answered by the constituents in a realistic way so that we can actually get what we say we want out of this country. Because if we sit there and we're just like, hey, like, you know, we want you to do something. And every time I ask this question, I never get an answer. And I'm not saying, and it's not, I'm like, I literally, like, I don't get an answer. People are just like, I want things to change. Change how? Do you want infrastructure? Do you want housing? Do you want food? What is it that you want the Democratic Party
don't agree
to
that people
do
aren't answering that question,
systematically?
though.
I disagree.
I mean,
Yeah.
we voted for these people for these things that they've run on, saying that this is the things that we want: housing, food equality, all these things. But when
Kamala
they get
mapped
there,
it
it's
out.
like,
She said what she wanted, and we voted for it.
No, we didn't vote for her.
For that.
I
We
mean,
did.
but the country didn't. I'm saying the country didn't vote for
right.
her en masse. So, and that's when I'm saying what I'm saying. I'm saying it in a way where I'm like, okay, because right
Jazzy,
now I hear a lot of people. Hold on.
Can I
please,
interject
because
something? No, I want to
Okay.
interject before you get to that point.
Yeah.
So, we're talking about what people did. So a part of the problem is when you believe as people that somehow whatever it is not going to impact you. That's a big part of the thing that you're fighting against. No matter what people say, some of them believe I'm going to have all of these things, even if that doesn't happen. But they're going to have to realize the hard way is that they're not going to get it. And if they didn't come out, they didn't come out. And somehow I don't know if we're meant to be here. I don't know what. All I can tell you is I remember telling you all distinctly some months ago that they don't want to roll. Everybody can say, oh, they want to take us back to 1964. No, they don't. They want to take us back to 1800s, pre-Civil
pre-amendments.
War. We have to understand that part. That's where they want to take you. And all y'all know my favorite books are those Parable of the Talents and Parable of the Sword. Parable of the Talent has people in concentration camps that they built, much like this alligator thing they built down in Florida.
8 days.
So collars on their necks, and they talk about implanting people with stuff so they control their movement. I don't put anything past anyone, but I think the part of what people talk about what they want, even when they heard the things that many people said they wanted, they either voted against it or they didn't vote for it at all.
Hold on.
Some of them did the against because of their hatred, because of the racism in this country and fear of the replacement theory that white people have put out there.
Yes.
Real in people's head, no matter how poor they are. And as I said, even there's a clip, if you can ever find it, there's a clip when Biden says out of his own mouth that by 2040, the white man will not be the majority. He said that out of his own mouth.
Yes.
I don't know where the clip is, but I know I saw it a couple of times.
Can we switch subjects a little bit?
Hold on, Chris. Let him finish.
Go ahead, Chris.
Let's switch up because you touched on something, and I think this is really important. This alligator Auschwitz that they built in 8 days, the money and the resources that they used to build this piece of property in 8 days could have helped to solve homelessness throughout the country. If they were to take this strategy and put that in different areas where you've got a high percentage of homelessness, San Francisco, New York, Florida, you built these structures, you've put toilets, you've put beds, you can wipe out homelessness, provide food for people. But no, what you want to do is lock people up and put them in the cages that you've put around these places, threaten them, and profit off of them. Because let's not forget, these are privatized, where these companies that are building these places, which are Republicans, will be making profit off of these people. They're not even gonna. They don't even want to send these people, deport them to other countries. They're going to use them as slave labor there.
Yeah, but the whole point is, and this is what he said about the farmers. When we go right back to that, we circle back around to the farmers. The farmers are the owners of people.
And they're currently doing that in other states. They're renting
Yes.
out. They're renting out these convicts. Alabama, they've been talking a lot about. They rent them out,
And they're going to start using kids.
Farms, and so
because
that
Florida.
They're
going to start using kids. They're going to start using kids because Florida already is rolling back that they want to
roll that
be able
back
to
that age.
Right. So you're going to have kids out in these farms picking crops when they should be in school getting educated.
So anyway, this was a lively conversation. This was a good one. I love when we have, because we are sharing the thoughts and sharing ideas.
But
now,
Ron,
will we come to? Will we?
Can
before
I,
we go,
can I say something on what Jazzy mentioned?
Yes.
About, and I know people are proud independents. I know they are, but you can't be a part of the process until November.
That's right.
You can't. You have no authority to be a part of the one that gets that person that you're rooting for,
which is not fair. Which is not fair.
Right, but right where it currently sits, though. Yeah. In most places, I know it's in DC. You don't vote until November. So as you sit there, you can't make sure that person that you believe in even gets on the ballot because you registered as an independent. And I think that's a safe space for a lot of people to be, because it allows you to straddle the fence. It really does. And it takes me, Jazzy and I had this conversation last week. It takes me back to Martin Luther King's letter from the Birmingham jail. The most dangerous people in America to us, and I expanded it when we were talking, is not just the liberal or the moderate white person. It's also the liberal or the moderate or independent Black person.
Yeah.
Once you decide that you're not going to pick a side, then you've made a decision not to be a part of the full process. And you're just as dangerous to me as that moderate or liberal white person.
And it's interesting you would say that, because I had to question myself this year, because I wanted to vote for Zoran here in New York City. And I said, wait a minute, I'm an independent. I can't participate in the primary.
Right.
And so I realized that a bunch of us independents, we have to sit on the fence and not do what we need to do to get the people we want in to be part of that movement by being independent. So I had to rethink this and say, well, maybe I may have to pull the trigger and become a Democrat. Before you go, Chris, I said, let me look at that as a Democrat, because in order for us to, and I came to that same conclusion that you're saying, Elise, we have to be on a side. We have to pick a side. Neutral doesn't work in this system.
Because, and I know Chris wanted to say something, because what that allows you to do is sit on the fence. It allows you to straddle the fence. And I think that's what because I hear from other people. I've heard people that I follow say, oh, I vote this way and that. Like, you know what? I'm not voting anywhere that's going to destroy me. And sitting as I can say, oh, well, it gives the independent the thing to be able to say, well, I'm independent, so I didn't do that. But you did. Either way you want to look at it, you did something. So I think that we don't, as Jazzy and I always talk about, no one's building a strong third party with some visibility from the bottom up. Like, they'll come out in 4 years, they'll come out and then try to say something. If we have elections, and God willing, we'll have elections, they'll be back again. But the problem is that they haven't built a foundation. They don't have any traction. Nobody knows these people.
Well,
the independent allows themselves to sit on that fence, and they can do just as much harm as anybody else.
I think part of the problem is that we, as a democratic society, we need to look and systematically restructure how we do elections and government. I think that there is a space for independence, but it needs to be fully incorporated throughout the entire process. It can't be like, all right, well, yeah, now you can participate at the very end, because it does no good. Look at how other countries do it.
Well, yeah, because they have several parties, and but I do like that Yang. What's his name? I forget his first name. Yang, that ran for office, also presidency. he is working on a grassroots independent party, and to go against both parties. But it has to be the grassroots. It has to be at the local board. It has to be at the school. It has to be at the the legislator, the state body. I mean, it has to be from the very, very bottom,
From the
and
bottom
then
up.
work it up. But that takes years. And if
Yeah.
there may not be elections, then
we're at a precipice, or we're at an inflection point, whatever word you want to
We
use,
are.
yes,
where people have to decide which side you're on.
yeah.
To me, an independent, I'd love y'all to be whatever that means, but you gotta be on a side, and you gotta be in a part of the process from the beginning. Even in your local elections, you can't be in the part of from the beginning from there. And so the person
Well, that's what made me.
you can't.
Well, that's what made me think about it, Elise, is that because also one of my neighbors, she's a poll. She works the polls, and she said how she was surprised how many young people came out to vote for Zoran, but could not vote because they were all independents. Because a lot of young people are independents. They don't want to be Democrats, or they don't want to be Republicans. So then they have to fill out some affidavit or some kind of form so they can vote for a Democrat and then become a Democrat in the process. I don't know how that works. But a lot of young people here in New York City who are progressives, are independent, are now realizing that their power is not being an independent, but going in and being a Democrat. So if you want, there's only one side or the other. And also that's the way our system is. So we need to dive in to the side that is going to work to our advantage.
And I think they've been kind of caught or attracted to that by people in national platforms. Jazzy loves to talk about one in particular, Bernie.
Don't get me started.
Because and it's like, it's so progressive to do this. No, you got to get to a point where
Chris, is your time,
where people can
actually
vote. They got to be able to actually vote, and they have to understand that right now, for love it or not, you have two parties where you need to choose where you're gonna sit.
Yeah,
that's where you got to decide where you're gonna sit.
Because I felt the pain this year. The other years it didn't really hit me, but this year it was like I wanted to go vote. I wanted to be a part of the primary, and I could not. And I didn't think, and I didn't know that I could do well. When I went to the poll, the woman that was with me then let me know that I could fill out some form and then become a Democrat and and vote in that primary. But there's a lot. There's a lot we have to do.
I would say it's not all states that have closed primaries. Pay attention to
not
your
all
state,
states.
But I pointed that out because I think a lot of times, especially when it comes to our friend Bernie, what most people don't realize that he did in 2016 was he attached himself to the Democratic Party while being an independent.
Yes.
Right.
And people don't pay attention to that. But the reason why it's so important is because then he attacked the Democratic Party for basically pushing him out without saying, what people miss in
he was never there.
A Democrat.
Right.
And so people were asking,
Lieberman?
they were asking, he was asking them for money while not wanting to be a part of them. Then on the flip side, bashing them, and still does bash them while wanting them to give him money. So it's kind of like we have to just pay attention to what our politicians are doing and saying. I will tell you, my dad loved Ross Perot when I was a kid. Okay, he loved it. He was like, Ross Perot, he's the man. Like, he loved him some Ross Perot. Okay, so I get and Ross Perot, if you really follow what he did, he got a lot of votes, right? But
the most votes as an independent in history.
Right? So the thing is, it's not impossible to do these things. I just think that sometimes the reason why I asked the question that I asked today, the reason why I want us to be careful how we frame things is because at the end of the day, I understand that a lot of the things that we do and say, we have to take accountability for where we are in this nation. As a country, we have to take accountability. And I think a lot of times we always say it's only on the politicians, where it's like, no, the politicians are a reflection of us. It's not the other way around.
Exactly.
And I think sometimes we allow ourselves to believe that we don't have any power, and we do. We have more power than we think we do in this process. And when we talk about other countries, right? The one thing, if you really pay attention to other countries, they understand their power.
They understand
France,
their power.
They tried to say,
France
we're going to raise the retirement
The Yellow
age.
Jackets
France
will shut you down. The Yellow Jackets will shut the whole
literally
country
were
down.
burning down the city. Okay,
Yeah.
like saying like, hey, we are not going to do this. And I think sometimes we just have to get that feeling of like, we are the ones that are in control. It is not them. But the reason why they are allowed to do what they're doing is because we don't force them to pull their hand. And we have to kind of knock the rug from under them.
Interject, because the sad part about American life, and this is not Democrat or Republican, American life is that most Americans don't vote. Most Americans are not a part of the process. Most Americans are asleep at the steering wheel. They don't care. Like if you walked outside, which I kind of did a couple of days ago, no one even knows what's happening about the big bill. They don't even know they're clueless. They have no clue that is going on. They don't, and then again, when it hits them, it will be too late. I mean, it's never over. I mean, that's history. History is when it's humans, it's never over. But it will have to be some resistance on another level.
In America, you know, in this country, we operate in so much fear.
Yeah.
Because you take a country like France, you could go there to France today, and the whole train system would be shut down, and you have to take a bus. Or you go and the people on strike at the airport, so you won't be able to fly in. We have unions who protest and try to get in with politicians, but nobody's willing to say, we're not going to go to work today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might lose my job. Guess what? You still might lose your job, even if you go. But if you could get
think about those people in Ohio that got hired for that what do you call it, the chip factory that Biden put together.
Right.
Now that chip factory is now closed because they did not. They voted against themselves.
They voted against themselves.
They voted for Trump.
Yeah.
But if you could get the masses to one day in this country understand their power, the biggest way they can understand their power is you wake up tomorrow, a person of color, majority of people of color, decide not to go to work. This entire country was shut down. Every infrastructure in this country was shut down. Amtrak wouldn't run, airplanes wouldn't fly, local buses nothing would work. No grocery stores wouldn't open, restaurants couldn't open. You could shut down this entire country if people were to understand that we're all in this fight together, and that how
Jazzy,
they won is to
that answers your question. How do we affect change? Shut the country down. And with that, guys, I gotta go. Love the discourse.
Thank you, Chris. Again, this was a great conversation. My buddy Chris.
That's all I wanted.
No,
that's all I wanted. That's because I think it needs to be said. That's my biggest thing. I just think it needs to be said because a lot of times we talk in these like nothing can be as dooms as everything is. We need to say what it is that we want. What is it that we can do to effectively change something? Not just saying the Democrats aren't doing nothing. That's not helpful. Like, we cannot keep repeating that. We have to say what it is that we want to do. Because by saying the Democrats aren't doing nothing, guess what? Like, okay, they're not, but what do you want them to do? I can't, you're asking me to do something. I don't know what you want me to do. I'm doing the things that I know how to do. I'm taking it to the courts. I'm doing it in the legislative branch. I'm making sure that I can do it in checks and balances all the ways that I can, that you gave me power to do. Now, what is it that you're willing to do as a constituent to make sure that you're working with me?
We need our fellow country people to wake up.
Yes.
They need to wake up and become a part of the process.
You need these groups that they didn't have one in DC. The ones that were talking about the state of the people, whatever they were going around the country to say, they needed to have called for
state of the people.
A national day of sick out.
Yeah.
That should have been a part of their platform. We're gonna all be sick and not go to work.
Sick and tired of being sick.
On August 1st, whatever, pick a day. And
the thing is,
you have to be, but a part of it is how do they see themselves? How are they sitting? What, because I have these things what I call power surges, right? People get in positions and they have these surges and they really think like this. What they want to do instead of expansive. My thing is we got to be more expansive. We got to say, how do we get them to hear us? They don't hear you sitting in those silos. They don't hear them. The people they pick hear them. And
like you said earlier,
the white people, blah, blah. Angela Rye, don't say that anymore. But what you need to do is the only way you're going to actually get them to hear you is for them to feel something financial.
Yeah.
To feel and understand the power of the masses. If women and people of color in this country came together and say, we're not going in today, you can shut this entire country down. And I know one guy, as a white guy on the internet somewhere was talking about it, but we have to understand that that's how you impact the world. Even if you could the people of color to do it. If we all understand that we are in the same exact
together,
position,
we're powerful.
None of us are any higher than the other. I don't care how white you look, none of that. We are all in the same little bucket. And so if you were able to galvanize people that way, because it's going to have to be something really radical for them to pay attention to the masses of people, because they're not the majority. These people who are ruling everything now are not the majority.
And so now that we know that's what we want to do, the question is now, how do we get people to move in that way? That's all I'm saying. Like, I think we just need to like pick something, say it, then how do we get the action on the things that we pick? Right now, what I see happening is they're not doing anything. They're in the course. We're all discombobulated all over the place. So we don't have the conversation. And yes, they had the State of the People tour, right? The State of the People tour, that was great. I don't think the majority of people knew about the State of the People tour, because the State of the People tour is going to target a very specific group of people. And you have to go out door to door, right? Because we are people that are interested in these kind of conversations, right? And the average person is not. So now it's about going, like y'all said earlier, door to door and getting these people to come out. Now it's about saying, okay, now that we got door to door, get these people to come out, on the flyer say, hey, take off, don't list a booklet and have 45 things on it. Say 5 things on this thing. This is what we're trying to do. And we're going to shut down the country. And by this shutting down the country, we are hoping to effectively change these 5 things. That's it. I think we're making this so much harder than it needs to be. I promise you, politicians understand the effect that they have on the country, and they understand what they can and cannot do. Most people don't know this. $20 billion will solve homelessness in the United States. $20 billion. That is pennies to our country. Pennies. Yeah. So it's like, it's not that they don't understand that they can do these changes. It's about how do we get them to force them. Exactly. They don't want to, because if everybody's doing okay and everybody's stable, then we can't have these hierarchy things. So it's about pushing the narrative in a different direction and saying, okay, now how do we push it so that they want these changes, but we want to actually make everybody collectively good. The one thing about the 44,000 women call during the Kamala Harris thing, like I sat there in amazement, right? And at first I was like, this is beautiful. And it still was beautiful, right? And that we raised $1 million in 2 hours, right? That's beautiful with 44,000 people. But think about that. We, in 2 hours, raised $1 million. There are communities right now that $1 million will flip their whole community. You can buy a whole entire a crisis center.
Right.
We don't think bigger. We always think that we can't, whatever. And by doing that, right, the reason why that call, and I've seen it again, some of y'all know, like I've sat in a room with 300 women that raised $125,000 in 10 minutes, all women of color, right? We have more money than we give ourselves credit for. We, to your point the other day, Ron, when we were talking about the like how can we save in like community? My whole thing is if we just took $25 each in our community, I bet you we could raise $1 million in seconds.
We could say
we don't think that way. We don't think we have to think. Try to chip away at it smaller instead of trying to say we need $1 million. Just say, listen, if 1,000 people gave me $25, this will give me this amount of money.
Well, preachers.
That's what we have to do.
That's how the preachers do it.
But that's how they get. That's how they get rich.
Everybody give me $25. Everybody give me $25.
We need a plane, so
lock that door until
I'm gonna have to
get
let you guys. We're gonna have to end here. We're gonna have to end here. What a great conversation! I think we must have said something wrong because the algorithm was not giving us any play today. They were like, y'all just saying y'all little silo.
Ron, can I add one thing?
Did anybody hit the likes today? Did anybody hit likes?
Yeah, we did. Can we? I want to add one thing before we leave.
Yeah, John.
Think about people who want to go and organize groups to go around and speak across the country. They got to expand who's in the group.
Yeah.
They have to, because I mean, and it's risky because we saw what happened to the Black Panthers and Fred Hampton.
Yes.
Because he started galvanizing different groups of people.
Yeah.
That was the problem. And that's one of the things you have to do is we can't do it in a silo.
Exactly.
You have to expand and understand that we're talking to all of the people who are in this bucket with us.
Yes.
And as soon as we understand they're in the bucket, we got to figure out how do we include them so they have that our country come together, which is what I told my next door neighbor. I said, y'all got to talk to us too.
I'm nominating Jazzy. I'm nominating Jazzy to go out into the streets.
I did have a Swiss politician
and go door to door. And
I had a Swiss politician say I should run for office. A Swedish politician, was it a Swedish or Sweden politician told me I should run for office one day.
You should. I mean, you should do it. You should try to. I mean,
I'm a lot shy than people realize.
I mean, I am always excited, and this is why I love the whole election here in New York City. And you know that Zoran. So I say Zoran is a threat to the establishment.
Absolutely.
Because they're freaking out.
The Democrats are after him and the Republicans. And the Democrats are just as racist in their bigotry. Gillibrand, what she said this week was ridiculous. I mean, but I always said that she's wicked because she will flip on you in a moment. She's been that way for decades now.
You just have to remember who people are.
Know who these people are. And these
are white women.
At the end of the day.
Listen, I don't put nothing past any of them. I always tell people, the only reason why I'm in the Democratic Party is because I understand what it will do for me in the long run. But don't get it twisted. I'm not an idiot. Like,
and that's the whole point. It's like, but that's what.
But I have to come to terms with. Democratic Party. She's a white woman.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's
talk about that rhetoric that comes from that side.
I mean, the stuff that she said this week after that man won that election and won it big against the establishment. I mean, he did a great job. I love his ideas. I love what he's bringing to the table. And they're bringing all kinds of nasty bigotry. I mean, it's just horrible what they're doing here in New York and around the country. I mean, when you got that orange criminal sitting in the White House calling him a communist. Okay, that's a whole nother story. Okay, guys, I'm excited.
The young people who he got are diverse.
Yes.
That's the biggest fear they have. They're so diverse.
Diversity.
The criminal in the White House. I want him to tell me what it is. Tell me what that is. What does it mean? I want everybody to tell me what he's a communist. He's a socialist. Make up your mind. What is he? Oh, he cares about humans.
Yes.
That's the disease we have. We care about humans. It's a disease.
Okay, guys. The ugly big bill probably will be passed by later on because they got to have it for tomorrow for their 4th of July event.
Celebration.
So yeah, a little
What you and that girl is
celebration.
the 4th of July. I don't celebrate the 4th of July.
I just like the fireworks. That's
And
all.
somebody actually said we just need not to do it. 4th of July was 1776.
We were
We
not
were
free.
still enslaved. George Washington didn't let nobody free. He kept his
Nope.
slaves. He used them slave teeth to make his teeth. Come on now.
Ugh.
Tell the truth. Shame
That's
the
right.
devil.
That's right. He took his slaves' teeth.
And
Yep.
you know how they do it? You know what they get us with? They entertain us.
Yeah.
They got fireworks and singing. They entertain us.
They make us feel good.
And they distract you.
Yeah.
So
they do.
anyway, you got your first Jazzy has her first ballot in the family. Kim says, "You have passion, Jazzy. You have passion." And she says, "Yeah." She was
I'm
like,
gonna come to Maryland and
"Jazzy,
help her."
Jazzy, you should be out there with your wonderful ideas." And then at the end of the show, she says, "Great show, Kim."
Yes.
Kim has put her voice. She has put her stamp of approval.
We're gonna start a revolution right here, people. We're gonna
there we go.
Turn the TV off and the revolution starts right here.
Start a revolution.
Yes.
Anyway, guys, have a safe holiday. We'll be back. There's no game night on tonight. Tomorrow night. There's no game night, and there's no game night on Sunday night. Take the break off. We'll just take a break and just take a little vacation time. I'll be back on Monday. We'll be back on Monday.
Enjoy your fireworks looking out the window.
Yes.
I'll be enjoying my last fireworks from my window.
I know.
My last fireworks from my window. And
Yes.
Lisa's supposed to be here. Adrian's gonna be Adrian New York NYC. Chris Ann is gonna be here. And just a couple of people from the community will be here.
Yeah.
And
I'm not in New York this time. Actually, I'm going to Texas this weekend.
You're going to Texas this weekend?
I'm going to Texas for a week. Oof,
nice.
Have fun.
Nice.
My daughter turns 40 next week, so
wow.
Celebrate.
Tell your baby girl we said happy birthday.
I am gonna spend the week with her.
And Kimmy says, "I love y'all." So Kimmy, get ready.
Love you too, Kimmy.
I told my buddy in PA, I'm coming to visit him for a couple of weeks. He says, "Come on down." I said, "Good," because Kimmy and I are gonna be hanging out.
Yeah, because that place is gonna be sold soon. By next week,
we already have four offers.
Oh, good.
And it's getting closer to my number.
Okay, well,
so I'm excited about it. I just wanted to get today. There's someone coming in about 2 hours, so I gotta get the house ready for that.
Okay.
And we had our last open house last night. 3 people came by, but my broker said they weren't interested. He said they were just kind of like they were just nosy.
Yeah.
They wouldn't know. They
I'm not gonna say nothing. I used to go.
They want to see how Ron lives.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Oh, Ron's apartment. Yes. Okay, we want to book and go check it out.
You'll have a deal by next week.
Yes.
Well, I had to call the lawyer yesterday, so I have my lawyer all set up and ready. Okay. So the lawyer's ready, and it looks like today is the final day for our offerings. Okay. So we made today the last day. Okay. So everyone that's going to put in their offers today. And if they're going to continue, if they're going to bid up, they're going to bid up today. Yeah. And but at least the number is above where is above asking. Okay. So the strategy of his strategy worked. Okay. And but I just wanted to get to one. I just need one more. I need one more push up.
Yeah.
And I will be happy. I just called my buddy from Namibia. Let him know. I said, "When's the best time to come down?" He said, "You could come down tomorrow." And I said, nope, I gotta make my rounds around America to visit all my friends. So I gotta come to DC. I'm gonna hang out with Elise. She don't know that now. She knows it. I'll be staying at a hotel near her and say, Elise, we're hanging out.
Yeah, Jazzy can come down.
That's right. So I'm gonna meet my DC family. I'm gonna meet my Atlanta family. I'm gonna try to get to LA or somewhere out in the West Coast. So we have people in our community from different places. So I just want to connect with a lot of folks before I go overseas. Yeah, and but I'm excited about it.
Very
So
nice. Very
Kimmy Kim
nice.
says, I'll come. And I said, I'll have my little itinerary. I'm going to be in this country. I'm going to be in that country. You guys can save up and meet me
Yes.
there.
Yes,
So, but
indeed.
I'm excited. But this is the last fireworks in this apartment. Looking at the fireworks, I'll be like, oh, I can't believe. But the universe is on my side because
Amen to that.
he says,
Yes.
I just got the email. Hey, Ron, we do have one more showing at 2 p.m. But here's where your offer stands now. Okay, so we got a little bit above. Oh, we got another offer.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, we'll see what's going on. He just sent me some more. So hopefully the offer, whoever comes in today at 2:00, they're gonna be showing it, and so we'll see. But
Right.
I'm just excited about moving to my next chapter.
Yes.
All right. We're
Yes.
excited for you.
Yes,
Okay,
indeed.
kiddos, and
All right.
so keep me in your prayers, keep me in your thoughts, and I know you guys are prayer warriors. Y'all know how to make things happen. So anyway,
Amen.
love you all. Have a happy
Me too.
holiday.
Love you
For
too.
those, I mean, when I say
All
holiday, your
right.
holiday with your friends, and
Yes.
when you're in the rest of the world, holiday just means time off.
Yes.
So let's
And they
enjoy
have
your
lots of
holiday.
holidays.
Yes, indeed.
Canada Day is
indeed,
always
indeed.
fun. I've been to
Yes.
Canada Day once or twice.
Okay, this was a great conversation.
All
Love you
right.
guys, and I will
All right.
see you guys on. Well, I'll see you when I see you.
Yes.
Later.
All right.
Bye.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today. Make sure you hit the like, the subscribe, and leave a comment on this video. I would love to hear from you. Thank you again. Until I see you next time.